winners, and I think
Yeah. Hello.
I'm here. I'm sorry. I'm here. Someone called me.
Weird. Yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna act like I know. If you're in school for economics, I'm not gonna act like I know more about economics than you do, of course. Because I'm sure I don't. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, I don't think that the economy is going to get worse under Trump, and unless like something crazy happens. But that's of course just a portion of it. There's other parts of presidency, like foreign affairs and internal affairs and stuff like that. And specifically in those manners is where I pretty much completely go against Kamala.
And why was Kamala not good on the foreign affairs, and why was Trump better?
Yeah. So no wars under Trump. As soon as Biden and Kamala get in office, two big wars that we had direct attempts at intervention with. Specifically, one of the wars is on an ally of ours, and then that specific war was only able to be funded because Trump was preventing Iran from having money and during his presidency by not allowing other countries to purchase oil from them. Biden stopped that. So Iran was able to have money, and then Iran was able to help fund H Group in Palestine. I don't know if I'm allowed to say it. I don't know. And not only that, but then they recently have begun their own invasion of Israel. And then in regards of Ukraine, Russia, in regards of Ukraine, Russia, she was sent out there just a few days before to be like a diplomat and to try and calm things down before they started invading Ukraine, and that didn't work. So clearly, it didn't go well. And then, of course, Afghanistan didn't go well, and Kamala prides herself for being the last person out of the room with that, and that clearly didn't go well. And then, of course, the border has gotten a lot worse during their presidency as well. And Kamala definitely had a part in that. So yeah, that's the main things.
Well, you brought a lot of points. I want to go because I'm gonna be honest. I don't really know much about the Israel-Palestine war, so I'm not gonna really comment on that.
Yeah, I don't know much either.
I would comment on the Ukraine-Russia war. I don't believe it's entirely. I guess yes, you're right. Presidents have an influence, but to say the war was solely on Biden is not the right word to say, because if you would look at like articles and journals, Russia was already planning to invade Ukraine for months before Biden presumed presidency, because they were stationing troops all along the border of the Ukraine border, and as soon as a couple months passed, and they invaded. So to say it was Biden's fault is definitely not the right term to use.
I mean, not entirely, but like it's especially like just looking at it black and white. It's hard to argue against. They invade during Obama. They do nothing during Trump, and then as soon as Trump leaves, they invade again.
Well, I just told you they were stationing troops along the Ukraine border during Trump's presidency.
Yeah, but that was after they knew that Trump wasn't going to be president again, and they were possibly feeling more confident against a different president. No, it wasn't. Am I wrong about that, chat? But yeah, I mean, it seems like
they were not afraid of Trump, though, because
it seems like the general consensus is that Trump demanded more respect, I guess I could say. Okay, beep boop bop beep detective. I'll look into that.
I wonder if the same thing they're wrong to me or you.
No, I think they're saying I was wrong. It was September. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He massed troops. So if I'm a country, right, and I mass troops all along the border of your thing, you think I'm gonna attack or just not attack, regardless of my relationship with you?
What do you?
I'm saying as this, like you're saying that Trump, well, because Trump had better relations. But I'm saying, if you had good relations, why would you put troops along the border of a country if you weren't gonna attack?
Because I don't believe that we were like crazy good allies with Ukraine or anything like that. Like they weren't even a part of NATO.
But they want to be part of NATO, though.
Yeah, but the thing is that we agreed to like promise that they won't become a part of NATO, and then we went back on our word.
Why do we promise not to give them? Sorry, why do we promise Ukraine that they're not allowed to be in NATO?
Because Russia wanted us to promise that.
Yeah, because it's a strategic political move. If we allow Ukraine to basically have NATO, we would result in a World War III, because that would pull in Russia and it would pull in China. So that's why we as United States didn't allow Ukraine initially to join NATO, because we didn't want to start a war to war. Because Russia really wanted to
start allowing it.
Well, because they already attacked. If the whole point of blocking the NATO, Ukraine and NATO. What?
I don't believe that the attack had begun at that point. I might be wrong, but I don't think so.
Talk to me.
Yeah. I think that the implementation into NATO for Ukraine, that process had already begun by the time of the invasion.
What are you talking about? I'm confused.
I thought you were saying that it happened after.
No, I'm saying that Ukraine wanted to join NATO before the invasion.
I know. And it was looking like that might have happened, which is, of course, not what Russia wanted and what we said we wanted to do.
Yeah, but that's why we didn't allow NATO. I mean, not Ukraine to join NATO, because we didn't want a war with Russia. But they attacked anyways. And that's why we're we're having talks about allowing Ukraine into NATO, because the whole premise of blocking Ukraine into NATO was to prevent war. What's the point of preventing war if it already started? And that's what I'm saying. That goes back to Trump, where he didn't really do much in the foreign policy, because the war was going to happen regardless of whose presidency. To say it was only Biden's fault is just wrong.
I mean, you can say that maybe it could have happened under Trump's presidency. Maybe I don't know if I would agree with that, especially if it even did happen. That it would be to the extent that it's at. And I would argue to differ. I think Trump did do quite a bit with foreign policy. Like first president to step foot into North Korea was kind of a big deal, and overall, like tensions were lower at that time. And what I already mentioned with Iran, and he started to pull out of Afghanistan, and the border was really well under him. In fact, the chief executive or whatever of the border for the Obama administration said that Trump was the best president that he had seen on the border. So yeah, I think based off of what I know, it seems like Trump did pretty good foreign affair wise.
I mean, his foreign. I would agree. Like meeting up with Kim Jong-un is probably like a good foreign policy move, but the relations wasn't that good, because both him and Kim Jong-un had a tweet battle based on saying whose button was bigger, and nobody knew who was joking or not. Because why would you joke about throwing missiles, not missiles, nuclear missiles at one another? That's just idiotic as on foreign policy.
I don't think it was really like a joke. I think it was more of like a intimidation tactic. Like there was one time he met up with a leader of a not so nice group, and it was in regards to the pullout of Afghanistan. And he told the guy, like, hey, we want to do this. We're going to do it over time. We want to do it right. And, he told them, he said, but if you harm a single American, then I will end you. And then he put a picture of the guy's house on the table, and then he got up and walked out the room. I'd say I'd be intimidated. And then in those last 18 months of Trump's presidency, there was no not a single American soldier was lost.
Yes, but only dictators intimidate. We as diplomats should have the courtesy knowledge to basically reason and talk with another opposing view. We shouldn't immediately go, I'm going to use my nuclear missile if you don't listen to what I say. That's what dictators do. Look at Russia, what he's doing. He's saying...
No, I have to disagree. I mean, it's not like he was making attempts to intimidate, the Netherlands or England or Canada. It was...
I'm talking about North Korea.
I know. And what kind of leader does North Korea have?
A dictatorship.
Exactly.
So you say we should stoop down on their level.
To play diplomatic like that, that's not our fault.
So we should stoop down to the dictatorship level in order to make reason?
No, that's not being a dictator.
Well, what's the point you're trying to make? Because the point I'm trying to make is threatening a country, honestly a third world country, who doesn't even have nukes.
Who doesn't have nukes?
North Korea does not have nukes.
Yes, they do.
How do they have nukes?
I don't know how. I think they have like 13 or something. I might be completely off, but yeah, they do.
They don't have nukes because if they had nukes, they would have the power of nuclear technology, which is nuclear power plants. And if you see their lights at nighttime compared to South Korea, it's dark as hell because they don't have any nuclear power plants because they don't know how nuclear works. They're a third world country.
Oh, they like absolutely, like without a doubt, are in possession of nuclear weapons. We've known that for a long time. They've been doing tests off in the ocean. Like I can tell you how many does North Korea have?
They don't have thousands. They might have nukes. Might be wrong. It's been a while since. Did you look it up though?
Yeah, it says estimated to have 50.
Based off of what source?
Armscontrol.org.
I'll trust that. Maybe you're right. I'll give you that. I'll give you that.
I've been seeing stuff for 10 years, my whole life that they're in possession. That's never been a question. That's why, we have to be so extra careful with them and Russia and China specifically.
Yeah, but being careful is not threatening to nuke each other, though. I'm saying, it's foreign policy is bad. Biden and Harris administration, they'd work out diplomatic solutions. Even the Israel-Palestine solution is very difficult in itself. Regardless of which side you're on, it's very difficult to say, to pick a side, and that's what they're doing. Yeah. They're not threatening both sides.
They didn't have... They didn't have nuclear weapons over in the Middle East. That's why we were able to send active troops out there.
Okay. Well, so the next issue let's discuss talk about international relations. But I want to talk more about the economy now, and again, because that's my strong suit. But one thing I had to say too as well is that Trump's policy on unions is very horrible as well in itself. So his tax cuts are terrible for the economy. His union busting is terrible for the economy. The regulations are terrible for the economy.
Well, if they were terrible for the economy wouldn't have continued to get better under his presidency.
Like I said, he was benefiting off of Obama's administration.
I understand, but if they were so terrible, things would have, at the very least, not gotten better at the same rate. At least it would have slowed down, if not gotten worse. But that didn't happen.
It did happen because when you implement policies,
that didn't happen.
Wait. Let me. When you implement policies like economic policies, it doesn't take into immediate effect onto the economy. It takes years for it to develop. And when you do an implement like that, that's why when we saw in the Biden administration, we've seen such high inflationary experiences. But we also experienced GDP growth. and that's because he overclocked the economy by doing tax cuts, and that's what
We
caused
saw high inflation because we experienced the pandemic.
supply chain. But it's also due to the tax cuts that are still in effect. But I'm not blaming Trump solely, but I'm saying,
I mean, for example, I mean, I have this here. GDP growth between 2017, quarter one of 2017, all the way to quarter one of 2020 continues at pretty much the exact same rate as it was under Biden. So it didn't get better at a slower pace. It didn't get worse.
Economic growth and inflation are different.
Yeah, and then let me find the tab where I have my. Okay, crossed it out.
It was under Biden. That's not even true. Inflation because printing money. Biden. That's not true. Biden definitely did not add more national debt. Government printing money.
He's on track to add the same national debt as Trump. I looked at that the other day. Talked to someone with that on live. And inflation was at 2.7 when Trump got in office, and then by right when COVID hit, it went down to 0.1%, but it kind of hovered just under 2%.
Okay, I want to talk about, because they did bring a good point. I'm not really talking about why I'm voting for Kamala. Okay, so the main reason why I'm voting for Kamala is that she speaks for the people, I believe. When I see a lot of her time speaking about politics, it's never about I this, I that. It's always we. I believe you as a people. She says we need to do this, we need to do this. She's a collective people. She doesn't see anybody else as beneath her. She sees everybody as equal to her, which and respects. I think that's.
Can I give you a rebuttal to that?
I'll give you a rebuttal.
There's reports that so she has I think it's 92% employee turnover rate, and when she had employees that whenever she walked in the room, they would have to stand up or whatever and address her and say, "Good morning, General," or "Good afternoon, General." And unless the employee had been there long enough, they weren't allowed to look her in the eyes. So I don't think I definitely would say she thinks of herself above the average individual. Otherwise, she wouldn't have had a 92% employee turnover rate for those reasons.
What article was that? The eye thing and the saluting?
I've seen it all over.
Honestly, this is my first time even hearing about that. I watch the news a lot, and I've never heard from both sides.
Because you watch the news.
No, I watch both Fox News, CNN, and NBC because to make one opinion.
I don't watch any mainstream news. Kamala Harris has had a 92% staff turnover during her first 3 years. Under Kamala Harris, the office of the vice president has been called a revolving door and exodus of key aides heading for the exit. That's not a hyperbole from national media. The Atlantic in October 2023 is shown to have reported payrolls that we captured. In her first year and a half as vice president, Harris saw the departure of her chief of staff, communications director, domestic policy advisor, national security advisor, as well as other aides, the magazine wrote, and that's from, I guess, The Atlantic. I'm reading this from Open the Books. That was just the highest thing that came up. And it's also on Fox News, Washington Times.
Is it talking about how she sees her employees as beneath her? Because you're right. A 92% rate is definitely very. You can argue for both sides on that equation. So unless there's hard statements saying oh, you can't. She never looked at me. She never told me I can't look her in the eye. I think that's very assumptuous of her.
Of who?
Of Kamala.
Yeah. So that's not thinking of yourself as the same or as equal, right?
But was there any hard truth saying comments from individual people saying, "Oh, she don't let me look at her eyes," or was it just comments made about the workplace?
No, that's stuff that's been reported from former employees.
Mm.
I mean, I guess technically it's he says, she says, so you can believe it to not be true. But the fact that there is a 92% turnover rate makes it look like there's a lot of evidence towards it being true.
I'll give you that. You're kind of right. Kind of right on that one. Nice respects. But if you're going to talk about 92% rates, then you should look. You should have the same lens for Trump as well. Then look at his cabinet staff.
Yeah.
Why did a lot of his cabinet staff and even his own vice president didn't even endorse him?
Yeah, but that's not like employee turnover. That's more people.
That's exactly employee. If your cabinet is basically your employees that help you do things for the economy.
That's more people getting like fired and stuff by Trump, is what his record is. More firings and less.
That's the same as turnover.
Firing, but it's firings, not people quitting on their own accord.
So what's the difference between firing on turnover and quitting on turnover? They're both the same thing.
No, they're not.
How are they not the same thing?
Because the person themselves decides whether or not they want to quit is different than being fired when it wasn't their choice.
What do you think? Would you argue that being fired is worse than quitting then?
Not in this situation, no.
Why not?
Because these people are quitting because they were being treated poorly.
Whereas voluntarily, though, when you quit, you don't just quit because you're forced to. Majority of the time, you quit voluntarily.
Yeah, that means that like they chose to leave.
Yeah, so if they chose to leave, then that's their choice. The issue now is that Trump's cabinet staff were fired, and none of them even endorsed him. His own vice president didn't even endorse him. He even spoke at the DNC convention to speak out against Trump. Former past Republicans.
And he like fired me. I probably wouldn't want to endorse him publicly either. But
did Mike Pence get fired though?
No, he didn't get fired.
So why didn't he endorse Trump then?
Because he doesn't like Trump.
Why didn't he like Trump?
Probably because of. I think they were having problems with their relationship by like 2020 and stuff. I think. But yeah, I mean, primarily, if I had to guess, it probably because of January 6th.
Yeah, that's going to bring up another point. He literally incited a riot on the government.
Yeah, I've already publicly said a million times that I do not condone January 6th.
Mm-hmm, but he still did it, though.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't, like, start it, you know. Everyone there showed up and stuff. So many people showed up in their groups and everything and in the clothes and whatever that they were wearing. They were already planning on doing it. When Trump...
He said, I'm going to be right there with you, though, didn't he not?
Yeah, but he also said that he wanted it to be peaceful, and it's not like it was like crazy unpeaceful. You know, the people had to be stern or whatever, I guess, to get in. But yeah, I mean, he didn't say to do all that.
Okay, so if he wanted to be peaceful, correct? Like how you said he did.
Okay.
Then why does he trying to pardon the individuals who were not peaceful?
Yeah, because there's a lot of people who weren't specifically really being unpeaceful. I mean, it wasn't the most peaceful event, but you know, they weren't. It wasn't like some kind of combat zone. It was just people trying to get inside, and they were pushing and shoving their way inside. And when there's a lot of people like that, stuff's going to happen, of course. But I don't really think that there was much ill intent. I even watched a documentary against it, condemning the whole thing. And there's an instance where they're trying to get past a group of cops, and they're able to pull one of the cops out. And you know, the people pull him out, and they move him out of the way. And then they're done with them. Like, they're just trying to get inside. And when one person one time hit the cop over the head, and he had a helmet, someone hits the cop on the head after he was already moved out the way, and people started yelling at that dude. They were like, "Yo, stop! Like, we're not doing that. We're just trying to get inside." Like,
So do you think it was right for him to hit the cop?
huh?
You think it was right for the rioter to hit the cop?
No, and everybody around him didn't think that was right either.
But Trump thinks it's right. He's gonna pardon him.
I mean, I doubt he thinks it's right.
If I'm gonna pardon somebody for a crime, that obviously means I think that what they did was right. You can't argue against that. Like he literally blatantly said, "I'm gonna pardon all the individuals who were arrested on that day." And the reporter said, "Oh, even the people who did that," and he said, "Yes." So he blatantly supports rioters attacking the federal government.
I've never seen that specific instance. Specifically, if you leave the app, I can't hear you.
Oh my bad.
Yeah, I've never seen him be asked about that specific instance specifically. I mean, there was so many people there. One person, one incident from one person. That's so, that's one person out of so many people. And then also, it's, if you're going to bring that up, you got to keep the same energy of what was happening with the 2020 riots, which was happening more than once in multiple locations, and which were much more dangerous and hurtful. And Tim Walz prevented. He didn't do a very good job. Even the mayor of Minneapolis has come out publicly talking about how he was not appreciative of how Tim Walz handled that. So Tim Walz prevented the National Guard and cops from arresting these people. And then the ones who did get arrested, Kamala supported paying off their bonds and stuff.